Incredible 12-year-old's hidden poker genius revealed during high-stakes game to save mom's job. Jake Thompson, a quiet 12-year-old, stood at the edge of the old Maple Grove diner, breathing in the rich aroma of coffee and bacon. This place was magic, a beacon of connection in a town now rattled by a corporate cafe that made everything feel heavy and uncertain. His mom, Laura, had spent years pouring her heart into this eatery, chatting with customers, remembering their orders, their stories. But now whispers of closing echoed around him like a chilling wind, squeezing his chest tight. He knew the diner wasn't just a job for her. It was a cornerstone of their family, their life. His mind raced as shadows of fear and anxiety danced around him. If the diner closed, would his mom have to look for work somewhere else? Would their fragile stability shatter like glass? The town rallied around Laura. They wrote letters, had meetings, every age brimming with a fierce desire to support one another. But hope felt fragile, like a flickering candle in a storm. Then amidst the chaos came the announcement. A high-stakes poker game. A grand prize, enough cash to save the diner. The idea gripped Jake. Sure, the poker nights at Grandpa's house were fun, but this was different. It was full of adults, grizzled and skeptical, who would likely laugh when they saw him at the table. Still, determination pulled at him like an invisible thread. He could give his mom the chance she needed. The night of the game, Jake entered the musty back room of the town hall. 9 players sat around a table, their grins like thunderclouds. It was intimidating, but the sight of his mom standing behind him gave him courage. Her pride filled the room like warmth. "You've got this, Jake," she whispered, her voice a bomb against the storm in his chest. As cards were dealt, the adults exchanged chips and stories, their laughter ringing in Jake's ears. The first few rounds he was careful, cautious. Every smirk felt like an ice pick dancing against his resolve. But as the game went on, something began to spark inside him, a blend of instinct and strategic thinking, honed in quiet nights watching his grandpa shuffle cards. He took a breath, played his hand, and it started to work. The seasoned players raised eyebrows, disbelief replaced by respect. Each successful round recharged Jake's spirit. But just when conditions seemed ripe for his victory, a dark cloud rolled in. One of the veterans subtly slid an extra card his way. Gasps rippled through the room as players caught wind of the deceit. Tension thickened the air like fog. Jake's heart raced. With his mom's hopeful gaze fixed on him, he could feel the stakes rising. Money was one thing, but integrity weighed heavier. He struggled to summon the courage to expose the cheater. If he spoke up, would he lose what he had earned? Yet warmth surged in his chest as he remembered why he was there. Why this mattered. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Amid the tension, he felt the weight of the community behind him, support and loyalty. A choice loomed before him. Could one small voice filled with heart really make a difference? Jake took a deep breath, prepared to stand up. His mind raced with fear and hope, leaving the outcome uncertain. Would he find the courage to make his family proud and protect what so many loved? Jake's heart thundered in his chest as he glanced around the table. The eyes of the players weren't just on the game anymore, they were on him. Respect mixed with disbelief danced in their gazes, each man weighing his next move against Jake's silence. The energy in the room charged the air, a wild storm brewing. Could he really step up and confront someone so much older and more experienced than him? With his palms clammy against the felt of the poker table, he felt fear clawing at his insides. But every glance toward his mom reminded him why he couldn't back down. She deserved this, and so did the diner. The laughter and memories woven into those walls were worth fighting for. Jake, a voice with a gruff edge, called out. It was Tony, the seasoned player who had slipped the extra card. He had a smile that didn't reach his eyes. You've been quiet. You gonna play that hand or just sit there dreaming? Jake felt the weight of that stare, the challenge igniting a fire deep within him. He wasn't just a kid looking for a win. He was a son trying to save his home. He could feel it, the anger and resolve fusing into a single purpose. The diner mattered. And being honest mattered even more. Clearing his throat, he put his cards down carefully, forcing his voice over the air of tension. That card isn't mine. You cheated. The words echoed through the room, almost swallowed by the shocked silence that followed. Gasps erupted mixed with whispers. The adults shifted uncomfortably in their chairs. Jake's breath quickened. The moment he found his voice, he knew the repercussions would ripple far beyond this game. He could end up losing it all. But then he recalled the joy in his mom's eyes. Each memory tied to the diner flooding his mind with a rush of courage. If he was going to lose, it would be with integrity intact. Tony leaned back in his chair, his disbelief morphing into something colder, nastier. You're a kid, Jake. What do you know about poker or fairness? Just let the game go on. No, Jake shouted, the volume of his own voice surprising him. The confidence swelled, but so did the fear. You can't do that. This diner means everything to my mom, and this community. You think that's enough? One of the other players snapped, eyes narrowing. Kid, you think you can just march in here and call the bluff of grown men? Every eye now assessed him, like he was the last drop of rain in a desert. But instead of shrinking, Jake felt the love from his mom's gaze fortifying him. Listen, he said, trying to sound older than 12, if I'm going to lose, I'd rather lose with my head held high. The table erupted with mixed reactions. Some players smirked, others murmured nods of approval. There was a flicker of respect from a few and acknowledgement of bravery. But none of it mattered as much as the longing for his mother's pride. Are you going to stand by and let cheating win? Jake challenged, frustration propelling him forward. The players exchanged glances before a distinct silence fell again. This was it. With every passing moment, Jake felt the community's hope weighing on his small shoulders. Tony's eyes narrowed. He was caught and everyone could see it. Fine. Let us have a proper hand then. The tension shifted, a rebirth of energy igniting the room. Jake wasn't just fighting for his stake. He was standing up for. As the game resumed, every hand felt like a personal challenge. Jake's instincts took over, and he played with a heart-pumping adrenaline. Each card dealt felt lighter, as if fate had tilted in his favor. He fought for every bet, drawing on the echoes of laughter and love from the diner's walls. But as the final bets rolled in, a sense of unease hung heavy, almost palpable. The end was near, but would he be able to secure the ultimate victory? Or would he find out that the real challenge was yet to be revealed? Jake's focus widened, this game now embedded in the fabric of his existence. All around, the eyes of the town were on him, their dreams and hopes riding on these cards. As the last hand approached, Jake felt both exhilaration and fear. What awaited him could change everything. Would this be the moment he defended his family's honor? Or the point where hope slipped through his fingers? The answer hung in the air, waiting to unveil its truth. The final hand loomed before Jake like a shadow stretching across the poker table. He felt the weight of a million expectations pressing down upon him, every eye in the room glued to his next move. The stakes were higher than anyone could have anticipated, and inside him, a whirlwind of emotions churned: fear, hope, determination. Tony shuffled the cards with the confidence of a man who had spent a lifetime at the table. The familiar sound echoed, reminding Jake of the countless evenings he'd spent watching his mother and friends laugh over coffee at their diner. Those moments were part of him, each one weaving a tapestry of memories that spurred him on. Your bet, Jake, Tony said, an unsettling smirk tugging at the corner of his mouth, clearly relishing the tension he'd created. With trembling fingers, Jake picked up his chips. They felt bulky in his hands, almost like weights threatening to pull him under. But he hesitated, searching for the right decision. The faces around the table were a mix of curiosity and mockery. Jake's thoughts raced. It wasn't just about winning or losing. It was about more than money. It was about pride, family, and the diner that had been a second home. He placed his bet, a small stack, steady yet firm. I believe in fair play, and I won't let you down. Not today. This time the murmurs were different. A few nodded in solidarity. Others seemed skeptical, their judgment still lingering in the air. But the roar of adoration from his mom in the back of the room drowned out the noise. With her beaming smile, she lifted his morale. Let us see the cards, Jake urged, his voice steadier than he felt. Tony raised an eyebrow, his smile fading slightly, as if he sensed Jake's resolve. He flipped over his cards, revealing a strong hand, one that would typically crush a novice. The room quieted, an eerie hush washing over the players. But Jake felt the spark ignite. With the cards turned, he took a deep breath and revealed his own hand. A flush, something he never thought he'd have the fortune to pair against seasoned players. It was met with gasps. The tangible sense of disbelief crackled in the air as Jake watched the expressions shift from skepticism to astonishment. Tony's face twisted with fury. You got lucky, kid, he spat, but there was no hiding the panic creeping into his voice. Jake's heart pounded in his chest as he absorbed the reality of what he'd done. He had genuinely beaten Tony at his own game. The cheers erupted like fireworks around him, a wave of euphoria spreading through the players, a mix of shock and admiration. But just as Jake began to soak in the moment, a shadow fell across the din. He caught sight of a figure lingering at the door, someone he hadn't expected to see, the diner's landlord. His face was grim, and the tension snapped back like a taut string. Jake's stomach dropped. Was he too late? The cheers faltered, replaced by anxious whispers as every eye turned toward the landlord. I need to speak with you, Jake. He walked forward, a sinking feeling settling against the backdrop of his recent triumph. The cheers and excitement from moments before faded like a distant memory. With everything on the line, could the victory at the table translate to the real world? What would he have to face next? Jake's heart raced with uncertainty as the landlord's gaze bore down on him like a storm cloud looming above. Would he be forced to confront an even greater challenge? Jake felt the room shift as the landlord approached him, his expression a mixture of disappointment and urgency. It was as if he had just stepped off the poker table and onto another battlefield, one where the stakes felt even higher. The buzz of celebration dimmed, replaced by a tangible, oppressive silence. Jake, I don't want to interrupt your moment, but the landlord started, his voice surprisingly gentle. I've got some bad news about the diner. A chill crept down Jake's spine. The diner was the heart of their community, the place where laughter met the smell of fresh pies and coffee. It felt like a lifeline to his family, especially his mother. They're thinking of selling the property to developers, he continued, his eyes darting around the room, noting the prying gazes. If they do, you know how hard it'll hit your mom and everyone else. As the weight of those words sank in, Jake's mind raced. His victory over Tony, however meaningful, felt like a hollow trophy amid this storm. What can we do? He asked, desperation creeping into his voice. The landlord sighed, running a hand through his hair. We need to gather support, rally the town. But it won't be easy, especially with Tony at the helm of the opposition. You may have just made an enemy here tonight. Jake turned back to the table where Tony was still sitting, a frown darkening his face. The thrill of triumph melted away, replaced by a sense of impending conflict. This wasn't just about poker anymore. It was about his community, his family, and the diner that had hosted his happiest memories. Don't think for a second that I'll let him ruin us, Jake declared, feeling a newfound fire ignite within him. We'll fight this. Emboldened, he took a breath and turned toward the crowd. Listen up, everyone. I just beat Tony in poker, but that's nothing compared to what we need to do to save the diner. If we unite, nobody can take what's ours. There was a ripple of chatter, and slowly heads began to nod. Hope ignited in Jake's chest as he watched a few familiar faces step forward, determination reflected in their eyes. Tony's expression soured further. You think they'll follow you, kid? You're just a boy, he scoffed. But there was an edge in his voice, a flicker of fear that suggested he underestimated Jake's resolve. Maybe, Jake said, his voice unwavering. But I'm not alone. And neither is the diner. With each word, Jake felt a wave of strength surging through him. Whoever thought a 12-year-old couldn't stand up against a man like Tony hadn't seen what he was willing to fight for. The foundation of the diner was built on sweat, love, and memories. He refused to let some scheming opportunist take that away. As the crowd rallied around Jake, laughter bubbled up again. But this time it was filled with determination instead of mere celebration. The weight that had pressed down on Jake's shoulders felt a little lighter. They were beginning to band together. But oddly enough, amid the cheers, Jake couldn't shake that nagging feeling at the back of his mind. What if it wasn't enough? What unforeseen challenges lay ahead? He could feel the thickening tension, a cloud of uncertainty gathering beyond the celebration. And as the room filled with renewed energy, Jake vowed to stand firm. Whatever it took, he would protect his family's legacy. But how far was he willing to go? What depths of strategy would he need to plumb to save the diner and ultimately stand against the man who made him an enemy? Jake squared his shoulders, ready for a fight. "Let us get to work," he exclaimed, igniting a spark of determination among the crowd. But as they gathered plans, Jake knew that soon enough he would have to confront Tony again. And this time it wouldn't just be about the game. It was about saving everything he loved. Would he be ready for what was to come? The following days were a whirlwind of activity for Jake. Word spread quickly through town after his impromptu rally. Families rallied together, fired up with a shared purpose. Jake found himself at the center of it all, a young boy somehow transformed into a leader overnight. They met at the diner, chairs pulled close together as if they were sharing a secret. Every face echoed the same worry, the fear of losing their place, the heart of their community. They shared ideas, dreams, and a few tears. The smell of fresh coffee and blueberry pie filled the air, fueling their determination. "Okay, people," Jake said, clapping his hands together to get everyone's attention. "We need a plan." He felt the weight of responsibility pressing down on him. It was strange how a boy his age could suddenly feel so heavy with hopes and fears. But Jake pushed through it. "First, we'll gather signatures. If we show the developers how loved the diner is, maybe they'll back off." Nods of agreement settled around the room. In the corner, Mrs. Aldrich, the town's most tenacious organizer, smiled at him. "You're not just a boy, Jake. You're a breath of fresh air." Jake beamed at her words but kept his eyes focused. "Then we need to hold a community event, something big. Something special to remind everyone what this diner means. We'll invite everyone." Excitement bubbled and overtook the table as people began tossing around ideas for the event. An outdoor barbecue, a pie-eating contest, and even a talent show were tossed into the air like confetti. Each suggestion sparked laughter and chatter, and Jake let himself smile amidst the enthusiastic noise. They were beginning to feel like a team. Then he noticed something shift in the room. The apprehension returned. People were looking at each other, uncertainty creeping back in. Jake cleared his throat and raised his hands to quiet the crowd. "I know Tony's going to fight back, but we have each other. If we stay strong, we can protect what's ours." A lingering effect of his poker game. He learned to read the table. Even now he sensed the fear threading through his friends. "We have history with this diner. Think of all those birthday parties, the late-night coffee breaks, the friends we've made. That can't just fade away." He saw nodding heads, some faces softening in acceptance. The trust was returning, the spirit of community brightening. When they finally broke up for the evening, Jake felt a flicker of hope, but still, a nagging worry played in the back of his mind. What would Tony do? The man was cunning and ruthless, and as much as Jake wanted to believe their community could rally, he knew Tony wouldn't back down easily. The days turned into a blur of meetings and planning, and for every step forward, Tony seemed to file his own agenda. No sooner had they posted a sign outside the diner announcing the upcoming event, when Jake heard word of Tony's own plans. He was organizing a developer appreciation night, a thinly veiled attempt to sway local business owners his way. Jake's heart sank. It was a clever ploy. "Are you ready to take on Tony?" his friend Lucas asked as they sat in the diner on a slow Tuesday afternoon. "Ready as I can be," Jake replied, clenching his fists. "But I need to dig deeper. We can't just sit back and play chess anymore. It's a whole new game now." Suddenly, an idea crossed Jake's mind like a bolt of lightning. He needed more than just passion, he needed strategy. With a determined look, he turned to Lucas. "What if we did something unexpected? Something Tony wouldn't see coming? We have to counter his every move." "Like what?" Lucas asked, eyes wide. Jake thought hard and prepared for the challenge ahead. The countdown was on. Would this wild idea spiral into chaos, or could it be the one ace he needed against a mismatched opponent? The community event was just days away, and time was running short. The real battle was about to begin. But could he outmaneuver a man as unpredictable as Tony? Jake didn't sleep much that night. His mind raced like a roller coaster, twisting and turning around ideas that felt both promising and daunting. By dawn he'd scribbled notes all over his bedroom walls, each thought connecting like threads in a tapestry of hope and fear. The stakes were high, and the weight of the town's expectations rested squarely on his young shoulders. As the sun broke over the horizon, flooding his room with golden light, Jake resolved to rally the townsfolk into action. They won't see this coming, he whispered to himself, determination flooding his veins. He spent the morning mapping out every key player in the community and potential allies who might support their cause. At the diner that afternoon, Jake gathered his closest friends once more. Lucas, Molly, and Sarah arrived one by one, each bringing a spark of energy that intensified Jake's resolve. The diner buzzed with clattering dishes and the familiar scent of bacon sizzling on the grill, but Jake's thoughts were solely on the plan. "All right, team, listen up," he started, laying out the idea that had taken root during his restless night. "Instead of waiting for Tony to make the first move, we'll start our own developer appreciation event. We'll invite everyone he is trying to sway, but we're going to flip the narrative. We'll showcase why the diner isn't just a business. It's the heart of this town." Molly leaned in, a gleam of enthusiasm in her eyes. "So instead of fighting against him, we show everyone what they'll lose." "Genius." Jake grinned, excitement coursing through him. "Exactly. We'll have interviews, testimonials from regulars, and even a slideshow of memories from the diner. It'll celebrate our history and future." Sarah's brow furrowed as she thought deeper. But what if he tries to sabotage it? What if he gets the news out first that he's the one to be celebrated? Then we need to act fast. "We make our voices heard before he can touch ours," Jake replied, each word sparking a fire in the group. "We'll set up a social media campaign and get it trending. Number one priority, we start with the food. Who doesn't love diner food?" With their game plan outlined, the group split up to get the ball rolling. Jake knew that the clock was ticking, but he felt alive with purpose. They reached out to local artists, musicians, and chefs, anyone who could lend a hand in making their event unforgettable. As the day of the community event arrived, the air was thick with anticipation and anxiety. Colorful banners strung between lampposts waved gently in the breeze, while the sweet aroma of baked goods wafted through the streets. Crowds began to gather, drawn by the familiar warmth of their cherished diner, which stood proudly at the corner, like a guardian of their memories. Just as the crowd cheered for a local band getting ready to play, Jake's heart lurched. Across the street, he saw Tony standing by his sleek car, arms crossed, eyebrows drawn low in a menacing frown. His presence felt like a dark shadow stretching over their celebration. Jake gulped, knowing the confrontation could be inevitable. The stakes felt higher than ever, and every ounce of hope he had rallied seemed suddenly fragile. But just before Jake could process his thoughts, the crowd roared with laughter, pulling him back. Their community united didn't just crave a life of convenience. They clung to their history, their shared laughter echoing beneath the summer sky. Could this event finally be enough to keep Tony at bay? Or was it only the beginning of a bigger fight? There, under the weight of the moment, Jake stood poised, ready to face whatever came next. The band struck up a lively tune, and the crowd surged forward, laughter and chatter blending into a joyful symphony. Jake felt a rush of adrenaline. He leaned into Molly, who was clapping along with the beat. "Look at them!" he exclaimed, excitement bubbling in his chest. "They're loving this. We're doing it." Molly beamed back, her eyes sparkling. "Just wait until they see the food we've prepared. This is what community feels like." Jake nodded, but every time he glanced at Tony, the uneasy knot in his stomach tightened. The man was like a thundercloud, looming over them with an intensity that made the celebration feel bittersweet. He could almost sense the storm brewing. There was something undeniably ominous about Tony's watchfulness, and Jake couldn't shake the urge to confront him. "Let us show him we can't be intimidated," Sarah said, her voice barely audible above the cheer. She was already picking up her phone to document the event for their social media campaign. Time to post the first round of photos. With several locals snapping pictures alongside her, Jake seized the moment. He climbed onto a makeshift stage, built from old crates and pallets, his heart pounding in rhythm with the lively music. The crowd turned their gaze toward him, curiosity dancing in their eyes. "Hey everyone!" he shouted, his voice trembling slightly but gaining strength. "Thank you for coming out today. This wouldn't be possible without each of you. The diner isn't just a place to eat. It's a memory factory, a gathering ground for friends and families. It's our home." Cheers erupted from the audience, fueling his passion. He continued, Let us show Tony how much we appreciate our diner. Share your best memories with us. Let us make this a day to remember. The crowd roared again, people lifting their phones, ready to share their stories, their laughter echoing through the streets. Jake felt the tide turning in their favor, and hope sparked in his chest. Then he spotted Tony again. The man's lips curled into a smirk, as if amused by the small gathering. It infuriated Jake. Was he really underestimating their love for the diner? Tony raised an eyebrow, and with his polished demeanor sauntered toward Jake. Nice show you have going here, kid, he called, voice dripping with sarcasm. But you might want to rethink your celebration if you want to compete with the future I'm offering this town. Jake clenched his fists and took a step forward, but a warm hand gripped his shoulder. It was Lucas, his eyes wide with panic. Jake, don't. Not now. We don't need to give him the attention. No, Jake replied, determination hardening his voice. He needs to see us. We can't back down. Before he could react, an older man from the crowd shouted, "We've got history, Tony. This diner has stood the test of time. You can't buy that." Laughter and cheers interspersed his declaration, swelling the spirit of community around them. Jake turned back to Tony, defiance burning in his chest. "You might think you know what we want, but you don't. We're not going to let you destroy this place." Tony's expression darkened, and Jake could see the tension at the corners of his mouth. As the band played on, the weight of uncertainty hung in the air, crackling like static electricity. Jake had ignited something powerful, and he could feel the support of the crowd ripple beneath him. But Tony's stance promised a battle ahead, one where he wouldn't go down without a fight. Just as the tension peaked, the sound of a phone buzzing interrupted the standoff. Molly held her phone aloft, her face pale. "Guys, I just got a message, it's about the town meeting. Tony's planning something big, and it's not just about the diner." Jake's heart raced. What could be worse than losing the diner? He exchanged worried glances with his friends, each of them trying to fathom the impending storm. "Do you think we're ready for whatever he is scheming?" he asked, fighting against the swell of dread. With fire ignited in their hearts, they looked back at the crowd. They had come this far together. There was no turning back. Now, the stakes were higher than ever, and Jake could already feel the approach of a reckoning. A true test of their resolve was looming on the horizon. Would they manage to keep their home safe, or was the storm about to unleash its fury? Jake could hardly catch his breath as the weight of Molly's message sank in. The band played on, but the music felt distant now, an echo of joy that contrasted sharply with the tension wrapping around his heart. He could see fear mixing with determination in his friend's eyes. This was no longer just about the diner. It was about their lives, their very sense of home in a place that felt increasingly threatened. "What do we do?" Lucas's voice trembled just enough to reveal the doubt they all shared. In the distance, Tony lingered like a shark circling its prey, his confidence radiating a sense of impending doom. Jake swallowed hard, the knot in his stomach tightening further. They had no time to waste on fear. They needed a plan. "First, we need to rally everyone," Jake decided, surprising even himself with the steadiness in his voice. "We can't let Tony divide us. Let us hold a meeting, figure out what we can do together." Molly nodded, her expression set with grim resolve. "We can use social media to spread the word. Everyone loves this diner. They want to fight for it." "I'll handle the posts," Sarah chimed in, already tapping away at her phone. "And let us make it clear that this isn't just a fight for a restaurant. It's about us, about the community." With each passing moment, Jake felt his resolve strengthen. It was time to turn the tides. They had the crowd and they had passion on their side. They wasn't going to let Tony waltz in and lay claim to something that was theirs. As excitement grew in planning their next steps, Jake caught sight of an elderly woman standing off to the side, her hand trembling as she held her camera. He recognized Mrs. Jenkins, a loyal diner patron who had shared countless stories and cheap coffee with them over the years. "It's so beautiful what you're doing, dear," she said, her voice soft but earnest. "Just remember, those memories we've built are what matter most." Her words hung in the air, grounding them. It wasn't just about food. It was about connection, laughter, and love forged over greasy plates and late-night conversations. "Let us turn those memories into our battle cry," Jake said, feeling a surge of empowerment. "Let us ask everyone to come to the diner and share their stories. We'll record them, compile them, and show Tony exactly what he's up against. Yes, Molly shouted, her face lighting up with familiar excitement. We can create a video montage showcasing what this diner means to all of us. As they discussed the details, the band finished their song, and the crowd erupted in applause. It felt electric, a pulse of solidarity that surged through the air. But just as they began to feel optimistic, Tony stepped forward again, a dark cloud against the colorful backdrop of the festival. You really think a few stories will stop progress? He scoffed, arrogance spilling from his lips. I'll make sure the town knows that you're just clinging to the past. Progress is inevitable, and you all will soon learn that. Before Jake could respond, Tony turned on his heel, striding away without another word. Anger boiled inside him, but instead of letting it consume him, he focused on what they could control. Their passion, their stories, and their community. All right, everybody. Jake raised his arms, drawing the crowd's attention. We have an event to plan. Let us show the town what community really means. Cheers erupted, filling the air with renewed hope. People began to gather, buzzing with ideas and plans. For the first time that day, Jake felt a sense of clarity and purpose wash over him. But beneath the surface, a deeper worry still gnawed at him. What was Tony really planning, and how far would he go to crush their spirits? As Jake looked out at the sea of familiar faces brightening with determination, the question lingered. What damage could Tony do, and would their grasp on community be enough to withstand the storm he would inevitably unleash? The battle had only just begun. The energy in the air buzzed electric as Jake stood before the crowd, his heart pounding in rhythm with the chants of unity that arose around him. Each cheer felt like a thread binding them together, a tapestry of hopes woven with their shared stories. Yet, in the back of his mind, the specter of Tony loomed large, his sneering words a reminder that the fight was far from over. All right, Jake shouted, the conviction in his voice rising above the chatter. We've got 2 weeks until the town hall meeting. Let us gather as many stories as we can. Everyone loves this diner. It's our home. He felt the excitement swell, an invisible force that fueled their determination. Molly was already rifling through her bag, pulling out a portable speaker. Dance party for inspiration? She suggested, a quintessential gleam in her eyes. It was her way of getting everyone excited, and it worked. Laughter erupted as the first notes of a familiar song filled the space, and they all joined in. For that fleeting moment, they were just a group of friends, laughing like they always had, forgetting about the storm brewing on the horizon. But reality pulled Jake back. Social media posts needed to go out. Stories needed to be gathered. The laughter faded, replaced by the sober understanding that their memories held weight. They were not just aiming to save a diner. They were capturing a legacy. As the crowd began to break off into smaller groups, brainstorming how to spread the word, Jake caught a glimpse of Sarah. She stood by a nearby picnic table, her fingers flying over her phone, spreading their message like wildfire. She looked up, a confident smile sweeping across her face. Already getting some responses. People are fired up. Just then, a gentle tug on his sleeve interrupted his thoughts. It was Mrs. Jenkins again, her camera now lowered. I'd like to share my story, dear, she said. This diner isn't just a place for meals. It's where I met my husband. We shared laughter and tears over coffee. It means the world to so many of us. Jake felt a lump grow in his throat. Of course, Mrs. Jenkins, he replied, taking a moment to gather himself. Let us record your story. The weight of her history hung in the air, a reminder of what they were fighting to preserve. What if? Lucas began. We set up a booth at the diner. We can collect stories live, maybe offer free coffee to anyone who shares. Brilliant! Molly exclaimed, her excitement infectious. Let us make it an event. A story-sharing celebration. They quickly rallied more friends, energy bouncing off the walls. Jake realized they were crafting more than a montage. They were building a movement. Each personal tale woven into their collective narrative would become a tapestry so vibrant, it would be impossible for Tony or anyone to ignore. But as night began to fall, the shadows deepened. Jake glanced toward the diner, its lights twinkling like stars against the darkness. Would it truly be enough? Even with the community behind them, could they protect what was so dear? I won. Let Tony win, Jake whispered to himself, resolve hardening within him. They were small-town dreamers against a corporate giant. And yet, the strength of their collective memories filled him with hope. They fell into planning mode, laughing, brainstorming, and occasionally reminiscing. But beneath the joy an anxious edge tinged the air. Shadows seemed to dance, and with every idea rolled out, Jake's heart threatened to race faster. Just as they were about to finalize their plans, Jake's phone pinged an unexpected message. His heart sank as he read the name, Tony. The words on the screen sent a chill down his spine, sparking a new wave of dread. "I know what you're trying to do, but you're not going to win this," the text said simply. "I'll meet you at the diner tomorrow. You'll see how unrealistic your dreams really are." The night suddenly felt heavier, and Jake could feel the weight of the world bearing down on him again. What was Tony planning now? Would he stop at nothing to crush their hopes? With uncertainty looming overhead, Jake turned to his friends. "We need a new plan," he urged, anxiety creeping back in. "I don't think Tony is just going to sit by and watch us fight." Unbeknownst to them, the true battle was about to unfold, and Jake would need more than just a strong community to face it. Would they be ready to confront the man who had already begun to plot their downfall? The next day dawned with a heavy sense of anticipation. The sun lit up the diner's neon sign, casting a warm glow over the pavement where so many memories had been made. As Jake stood beside the entrance, he felt the weight of every hopeful heart resting upon his shoulders. His community had come together, each moment they shared intertwining their lives forever. But everything hinged on this meeting with Tony. The diner buzzed with activity as regulars arrived, friends greeting each other with warm smiles and laughter. Jake caught snippets of conversations about their upcoming event, the energy infectious. Yet, every cheerful laugh seemed to dissolve into a distant echo as he kept glancing at the clock. When would Tony show? Finally, just as the sun reached its zenith, the door swung open, and in strode Tony, with an air of arrogance that silenced the room. His eyes roamed over the diner, skepticism etched in every line of his face. The laughter faded into awed whispers, and Jake felt a shiver crawl up his spine. "Nice crowd you have here, kid," Tony drawled, smirking at Jake. "What's the plan? A bake sale? A couple of heartfelt stories?" Heart racing, Jake swallowed hard. This diner is more than just a building. These are real people with real stories. You can't just bulldoze our lives. The words burst out, fueled by the growing fire of compassion within him. Tony rolled his eyes, then leaned back, crossing his arms over his chest. "You think all it takes is a few testimonials to stop what's coming? You're dreaming." Jake opened his mouth to retort, but the words caught in his throat. What could he say that would resonate? He looked at the faces in the room, all filled with a mix of hope and defiance, and something sparked within him. Suddenly, Mrs. Jenkins stood up. With her camera in hand, she spoke up, her voice steady despite the tremor of age. "This diner has been our gathering place for decades. I met my husband here, and we celebrated anniversaries with laughter and joy. It's our history. You can't take that," she said, her eyes shining with tears. Others began to nod, sharing their own treasured tales. "The diner is my safe space," added Lucas. "We can't let you take it away." Tony's smirk faltered, shock rippling across his features with each new story. His confidence seemed to ebb, and for a brief moment, Jake felt the tide turn. The crowd rallied around him, voices intertwining in a powerful symphony of memories. "Do you hear that?" Jake's voice rang as he took a step forward. "These stories can't be erased. They're embedded in the fabric of this community. It's about more than just a profit margin to us. It's about family, love, and respect." The applause erupted, filling the diner with energy as hope surged. The faces that had once shown doubt now beamed with resolve, drowning out Tony's arrogance. But the challenge wasn't over yet. All he needed was one sharp jab, one cunning remark to push back. "Cute," Tony sneered. "But it won't save the diner. If you think you can outmaneuver me, you're sorely mistaken." Before Jake could respond, a familiar voice echoed from the kitchen. It was Laura, his mother. "What are you really offering, Tony?" she asked, stepping into the light. "Do you think replacing our diner with corporate chains will make us happy? Do you think that will fill the void of connection we share here?" The question hung in the air, and surprise wove through the crowd. Jake felt the breath catch in his throat as he looked at his mom. She looked regal, like a voice of reason in the eye of the storm. "You can't just take away our heart and expect us to thrive elsewhere." In that moment Jake saw Tony falter, a hint of uncertainty creeping into his facade. The weight of the community's love was palpable. "This isn't over, kid," Tony barked, grabbing the door handle, the tension nearly snapping the room in two. "Enjoy your little rally, but remember the town will soon see what I bring is progress. You won't stand in my way forever." And with that, he stormed out, leaving a stunned silence behind. But just as the weight of confusion threatened to drag them down, Jake gathered his friends. "This is just the beginning. We need to unite stronger than ever." They rallied. Photographs, videos, and heartwarming tales flooded social media platforms. The stories woven into their community forged a bond of strength. The town meeting quickly became a gathering charged with emotion and fierce loyalty. Celebrities of the community stood alongside Jake, capturing the love and authenticity of the diner's spirit. They created a buzz that even Tony couldn't ignore. Days turned into a bustling frenzy of words and preparations. The event transformed into a colorful collage of every single member of the community's heart. As they showcased their love, the thrill of nostalgia filled the air, reminding them all what it meant to be human, to connect. On the day of the town hall meeting, the energy pulsed like a living being, with Jake standing at the forefront, flanked by his friends and family. They shared their stories, laughter, and tears alike, acknowledging the very essence of what the diner meant to them. And as they faced the board, Jake felt unbridled hope surge within him. With every tale spoken, Jake saw Tony's expression shift, disbelief mixing with unease. They shared their triumphs and their struggles, revealing the profound impact the diner had on their lives. It wasn't just a business, it was an extension of their families. Finally, as Jake finished speaking, he looked out at the community, their smiles, their tears, and their overwhelming support, and a powerful realization struck him. Together, they had grown into a force that could weather any storm. A board member rose, jaw set. "The town council does not take lightly the traditions we have here. We will consider your words, your stories, and the strong sense of community that you represent today." Hope surged through Jake as he exchanged glances with his mom. This was it. They had won their chance to secure a future not just for the diner but for everything it represented. The cheers that erupted felt like a wave, sweeping them all up into a collective embrace. As the meeting adjourned and the crowd poured outside, Jake caught sight of Tony lingering at the edges, attempting to dismiss the energy surrounding him. And in that instant, Jake felt a rush of compassion for the man they had all stood against. For a moment, their shared humanity hung as a thread. In that fleeting moment, he realized that progress didn't always have to mean destruction. Perhaps both dreams could coexist. With the strength of community pulsing through them, Jake found his voice once more. "Together we can build something stronger," he shouted to the crowd. Their laughter and affirmations rang through the air, igniting hope in every heart. Jake looked at the diner, its comforting presence now secured in the embrace of a community willing to stand together, no matter the odds. Their commitment had forged a bond that transcended anything Tony could threaten. They were more than a diner now, they were family. And Jake, at just 12 years old, had discovered the power of standing up for what he believed in. This was the moment he proved that love could indeed change everything. "Let us keep moving forward," he exclaimed, and together with his community at his side, Jake knew they were heading toward a brighter future. You need to subscribe now to catch every exclusive story that unfolds in this beautiful community. This is the moment to show your support. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm. I cannot stress enough how much your support matters. Comment below with your reactions and feelings about this journey. Your words encourage us to continue. And don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. Only true fans understand the importance of supporting this channel through these actions.